that God is actually the devil, that it was Jesus that tempted Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and that this world is actually hell, are just a few of the beliefs held by a hidden version of Christianity that was banned from the Bible and by the church. The followers of this hidden doctrine are called the Gnostics. Gnostic comes from the Greek word for knowledge. You see, whereas mainstream Christianity is about belief and faith, the Gnostics claim uncovering hidden knowledge is the true way to salvation. But the secret knowledge of the Gnostics was so blasphemous that it was declared a heresy by the church. The Gnostics said that everything you know about the Bible is wrong, an inversion. That the truth is that the God of the Bible isn't God at all, but an evil, demonic being, and that you actually have the potential to be more powerful than the God of the Bible. And in his jealousy, this evil demonic God created the material world as a hellish illusion, trapped your soul in a material body as a prison, wiped your memory, and tricked humanity into thinking that it was God. Everything you've been told, everything that you can see, touch, hear, taste, and smell is an illusion and a lie. But the Gnostics claim to hold the key to how you can escape from the material realm and become all-powerful, more powerful than the God of the Bible. And if you can understand the information in this video, it will change your life forever. If you ever felt not of this world, that you come from somewhere else and have the divine pulsing within you, then you have the mindset of the Gnostics. Gnosticism is a system for rebels that don't bow before a creator God, but rather seek the divine within themselves. Whereas mainstream Christianity speaks of sin and repentance, Gnostics speak of illusion and enlightenment. So what was the secret knowledge of the Gnostics? Before you can understand what it is, you have to know a bit about why they were so hated by the church. Their extreme views brought the ire of those who we would now associate with mainstream Christianity. Saint Irenaeus, Bishop of Lyon, made it his mission to combat heresy and define orthodoxy. He wanted to purify Christianity of the Gnostic blasphemers, and in the year 180 he wrote a book called Adversus Haeresis, or Against Heresies, on the detection and overthrow of the so-called Gnosis. And this was a direct attack on Gnosticism and their secret wisdom. Irenaeus said, "These men falsify the oracles of God and prove themselves evil interpreters of the good word of revelation. They also overthrow the faith of many by drawing them away under a pretense of superior knowledge. I shall also endeavor to furnish the means of overthrowing them. I do this so that you may urge all those with whom you are connected to avoid such an abyss of madness and of blasphemy against Christ." Irenaeus hated that the Gnostics taught that one could unlock their divinity through gnosis, or hidden knowledge, rather than worshiping the creator of the world. Unfortunately, Irenaeus' work was highly influential. 50 years later, the Christian theologian Hippolytus wrote The Refutation of All Heresies to expose and refute the wicked blasphemy of the heretics. The bishops continued to campaign against heresy, and they seemingly prevailed in the 4th century. Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity, and it became an officially approved religion. The Council of Nicaea was a council of bishops summoned by Constantine. At this and another subsequent council, Christian orthodoxy was established, and an official response to heresy was put into effect. Heretics were exiled and their books were burned. Possession of any books considered heretical was a criminal offense. But thankfully, in Upper Egypt, an unknown individual buried the banned books in a jar, saving them from destruction. The secret knowledge of the Gnostics remained buried in a jar in Egypt for 1,600 years. And it wasn't until the mid-1900s that they were finally discovered. They were randomly dug up in a desert graveyard near the tombs of Egypt. Unfortunately, the discoverer's mother burned some of the pages as kindling to light their oven. Seems like these books have a hard time escaping the flames. So what was the secret knowledge of the Gnostics that the church had been so intent on destroying? Gnostics taught the hidden truth that God is everything and that we are God. But don't confuse that with the God of the Bible. The Gnostics taught that the God of the Bible wasn't good at all, but an evil demonic being that enslaved souls within material bodies to keep them from achieving divinity. While mainstream Christianity teaches salvation through the repentance of sin and submission to the God of the Bible, the Gnostics rejected the God of the Bible as an evil enslaver and taught that self-knowledge was knowledge of the true God, because we are the true God. Think about it like this. The Christian God of the Bible has all the firstborn children of Egypt killed, demands that Abraham kills his son Isaac as a test of his faith, demands animal sacrifice, and accepts Jephthah's daughter as a burnt virgin sacrifice. Now, really, does that sound like the acts of a loving God to you? The Gnostics were absolutely horrified by the bloodthirsty acts of this so-called God and concluded that only a demonic, satanic, evil being could be so cruel. According to the Gnostics, we are the true God, but we've been tricked, imprisoned, and the knowledge of our divinity wiped from our memory. The Gnostics were actually extremely close to the truth of existence. Now, to understand how, let's see how the Gnostics viewed existence. Before the creation of the world, nothing existed except pure mind. No matter, no space, no time, just mind. And this mind they called the Great Invisible Spirit, or the One, or the Monad. This one mind they considered the true God. From here, the Gnostic story does get pretty complicated, and I'll be exploring it in great detail in other videos on my channel, which is why you should subscribe. But here it is in a nutshell. This one divine mind does what a mind does. It thinks. And so it generated divine thoughts that acted in pairs and in perfect harmony with one another. But one of these thoughts decided to act independently, on its own, and out of harmony. And from this disharmonious thought, the united mind of God fractured, and an evil, demonic thought was generated. This dark thought was completely unaware of the true God, the divine mind from which it was generated. It thought that it was the true God. The Gnostics considered this demonic being to be the so-called God of the Bible, the God of mainstream Christianity. But to the Gnostics, it was an evil being, and they called it Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth then creates a host of demons called archons, or rulers, to assist him. Now, I'm sure you've heard the creation story of mainstream Christianity, where God creates the world in 6 days. According to the Gnostics, that story is completely wrong. Here's how the Gnostics describe creation. The evil being, the false god of the Bible, Yaldabaoth, decides to create the physical world, which is a poor copy, a malformed version of divine patterns. Yaldabaoth then desires to create humanity. He and the archons first create a spiritual human, and in order to give the human life, Yaldabaoth blows power from the divine mind into it. But since the human contains divinity, Yaldabaoth realizes the human is actually more powerful than himself and the archons. This, of course, enrages them, and so they cast the human into the physical world and create a material body as a prison to lock away the human's divine powers, and they wipe its memory of its divine origin. The secret Gospel of John says, Yaldabaoth's demonic forces envied the man. His understanding was far greater than that of those who had created him, and greater than that of the chief ruler himself. When they realized that he shone with light, they took him and cast him down into the lowest depths of the material world. They intended to make him anew, this time from earth, water, fire, and wind, which are matter, darkness, desire, the artificial spirit. This all became a tomb, a new kind of body. They enchained him in forgetfulness, made him subject to dying. And I'm sure you've heard of the Garden of Eden. They cast the human into it But it was no paradise. It was a hellish world. The rulers took the man and put him into paradise. They told him to eat freely. Their food is bitter. Their beauty is corrupt. Their food is deceit. Their trees are ungodliness. Their fruit is poison. Their promise is death. The Gnostic story is what you might call a coded metaphor. So let's unpack it and see what it means. Remember, according to Gnostics, all that exists in the beginning is a pure, united divine mind, and that's it. This pure mind is thinking in perfect harmony and unity, but then a thought acts independently, apart from the harmony of the rest of the mind, and from this breaking of unity, Yaldabaoth is generated. So according to the Gnostics, the divine mind of God goes insane. Thoughts begin to act independently and out of harmony. You can think of this like the divine mind suffering from dissociative identity disorder or schizophrenia. Everything is part of the divine mind. So according to the Gnostics, we are all pieces of God. We are all pieces of the divine mind that forgot that it was God. Everything is mind. Everything is thought. Even the so-called material world, it's an illusion, the dream of God. According to the Gnostics, the way to salvation is not through the repentance of sin or worshiping the creator God in the sky. The way to salvation is coming to gnosis, that is, knowledge of our true inner divinity, to know that we are divine and seeing through the illusion of matter. Gnostics believed in reincarnation, and that you, as a divine spark, will continuously be trapped and reincarnated into the realm and prison of matter until you realize that you are God, that forgot that it was God. Now, this is all an interesting story, but could it be true? The Gnostics were very close to the truth of reality, and we can know the truth not through belief or faith or even through stories, but through logic, reason, and mathematics. Let's step away from Gnosticism for a moment and see what reality truly is. You see, this isn't a physical world. This is a mathematical realm of mind. Before space and time, before the physical world, before the Big Bang, there was nothing. Mathematically, nothingness is equal to zero, but zero isn't empty. Nothingness, or zero, can be full. In fact, it can contain infinite energy, as long as all positive values are perfectly balanced with negative values. Because of course, the unity of a positive and a negative is zero. Zero is actually a container of infinite energy, frequencies, sinusoidal waves. This of course isn't physical, it's pure mind. So before the Big Bang, there was nothing but the 0-point source singularity of pure mind. Now this is what the Gnostics would have called the great invisible spirit, the divine mind. Now, sinusoidal waves have a property called phase. When the sinusoidal waves went from in phase to out of phase, this broke perfect harmony, and this breaking of harmony and breaking of unity was the cause of the Big Bang. The Big Bang was the fracturing of the divine mind. This physical world is a mathematical dream. It's our dream. We simply forgot. You always think the dream world is real when you're in a dream, unless you can become lucid. We are those that have become lucid. Each one of us is an eternal mind, a monad that has the potential to become an individual God. And taken together, we form the God, the Absolute. I am God, and so are you. Are you ready to understand the secret knowledge of what you truly are? Are you ready to stop worshiping a false God and become God? The Gnostics were highly intuitive and hit on many key factors of existence, but they certainly didn't get everything right. However, our system of Hyperianism is founded on reason. In Hyperianism, we can understand the truth of existence not through stories and myths, but through reason and mathematics. True knowledge. Remember, what I just described is just a glimpse of our incredibly complex system, and you can find detailed information about us on my channel. We're also going to be exploring Gnosticism in depth, so make sure that you subscribe. Help us wake up the world right now by sharing this video. And a big shout out to all my supporters on Patreon. If you enjoy my work, consider supporting on Patreon and you'll get access to our secret weekly live streams. My name is Morg, and I am Hyperion. Hail, New Terra.